Okay, it looks like it's recording. Really hoping that in the midst of this doesn't pop up saying, that I ran out of memory or so, because I know I gotta go through the actual album and delete old videos and that sort of thing to clear up space on my phone. Um, but anyways, this will be, I think, a new posting in for my playlist, Journey Out of Debt. Um, Doing a big update because I haven't really done anything for that playlist for a long time. Mostly because I was unemployed, dealing with a bunch of other stuff, including, debts in the family. And I was, as far as the topic is concerned, I was racking up debt at that point for the most part. Um, so it is the 19th of January, 2025. And last year, as far as the financial thing was concerned, was, or it is concerned rather, I really didn't make all that much money. I had a short stint with one company towards the end of the year, and then I started this current job about halfway through December. And I was mostly going off of savings and unemployment. Um, there was like a life insurance payout from my grandmother, which I had to use part of to pay for rent and food and gas. And then, of course, I had to pay for a trip back to, where my mom was from, in order to take a more active role in the settling of the estate, because the PR, the scumbag cousin of mine who, basically bullied his way into the position, due to my mother no longer being alive. She would have been the PR or personal representative according to the will, but he's, he's basically been just robbing the estate and robbing my dead grandmother and trying to, get money out of us and that sort of thing, and harassing us and stealing things. If I didn't already mention that before. It's mostly living off a credit card, the credit cards I had, because, prior to being laid off in April 2023, I'd handled my finances pretty well for, what would that be, almost 4.5 years. No, actually more like, yeah, almost actually like 4 years, because I graduated in May 2019, so about a month shy of 4 years. I had handled my finances pretty well. I'd been paying off one student loan after the next, zeroing out my credit cards. I did pivot a bit and, start buying up some tangible assets to build up some actual wealth, because I needed to sort of whet my appetite for that and get sort of the taste of, actually building wealth, as opposed to just paying off debts, which are seemingly kind of abstract, because, particularly with student loans, where it's like, okay, great, I paid off this debt, but what I get, I get a, paid in full letter, which is nice, but it doesn't really make you feel like you're getting anywhere serious. You don't got some intangible, like if you, bought stocks, or got some other, asset, particularly, commodities type assets. But yeah, I racked up a bunch of debt from that. I ended up, this is kind of shameful to me. I mean, maybe it isn't, shameful to a lot of folks nowadays, which, it's something I've had to sort of confront about, human nature for most folks. But, I had to get some financial support from my dad, who I have a very complicated relationship with. And, it's to the tune of like 6K, over, a few months there, because I had to pay for rent, I had to pay for food and gas, and I had to cover some other things. And, it's just how I am about things. Like, I've put that on the board. I mean, there's other line items I could add to the list of, money that I either do owe or think I owe to my dad. And then, eventually I'll get around to that, because I'm really focused on taking care of the things that are literally have my name on it, where it's not like a handshake agreement or just a act of common decency or filial piety or that sort of thing. And when I say I will get around to it, I will get around to it. Um, Back in, I think, 2021, still had this student loan that my uncle had signed on to. I paid that off like 3 to 4 years ahead of time. So, I'm not of the mindset of trying to like take advantage of family. I'm not, that kind of person. But right now, it's really a matter of having to reset the clock, so to speak. I did, by the way, towards the end of 2023, actually succeed in paying off a student loan account. When I was sort of towards the end of my time at that last job, I have been doing crazy overtime, just throwing as much as I could at that student loan account so that it wouldn't be figuring into my, monthly cost of living. And it was like my oldest student loan account. I was just trying to get rid of it, and I used some of the severance to get rid of that. I used some, other, monies, like some savings and that sort of thing, to pay that off. And I got, unemployment. And so because that was factored in my cost of living, I also, paid towards that. And I was able to get that paid off, which was pretty sweet, getting that, paid in full letter, because that was something that followed me around for like, and again, talking about shame or guilt or whatever, followed me around for like 20 years. And I got that, knocked out, which I'm glad I did that. That was probably the biggest, like, actual move forward financially that I was able to do that year. And ever since then, like, that's been the last major, like, milestone I got through. Right now, because I have 3 credit cards, they've, how should I put it? Like, I've at times been maxed out, or even like went over the limit with them, mostly due to interest charges, which is one of those things when you get into debt and you're trying to get out of debt. It's like, and I get there are people who can't do more than the minimum payments, and sometimes it's through no fault of their own that they get into that kind of a spot. I mean, there's a reason there's a subreddit called Poverty Finance on that social media platform. But I was able to scrape by through that, but now I'm focused on paying those off. And because of how well I was handling my finances back when I was employed at the last job, the credit line kept on getting extended and extended and extended. And for the most part, I kept my balance at zero or near to that. Exceptions would be like if I was buying some sort of tangible commodities to build wealth or so. And even then I would turn around and pay that off right away. So I had pretty sizable credit lines, enough that I could live off of them for a while. I think the total amount would be it would be covering my like yearly cost of living to max them all out. So I was able to I guess you could say dig myself into that hole, because it was like, well, I still got this amount of space left on the card, and I'm getting unemployment and all that. But now my goal is to get those 3 cards paid off, and I gotta like get other things current. I have 1 student loan account which covers like the 6 or 7, maybe 8, I think it's 7 student loans. That was like my last like chunk of student loans that was for my undergrad, and those are constantly like on deferment or on pause, essentially, which I guess that's the same thing. But that time period is over, and I gotta start paying those, and get the credit cards paid off, get my savings stabilized, because I gotta rebuild that. And my goal, by the way, is, as far as savings is concerned, is to build up the exact dollar and cent amount that was in there when the life insurance payout came in. Maybe a bit of rationalization on my part, but I'm trying to tell myself that since there was some of that money left, anything that gets added into it commingles with it and becomes one. So like if I get to that, or when I get to that dollar and cent amount, as long as the count doesn't drop to 0, then technically speaking I still have the life insurance money, and I won't have maybe it's like a guilt or shame factor there, but I just I won't have to feel like trash about that. Um, and yeah, that's what I'm doing, that part, and I don't expect any sort of, talk back from anybody about that. I think that's a good thing that I'm doing and a good goal. It's, and I know it is. I know it is. I know it's a good goal. I know that, to me that makes sense. So therefore it's going to have to be true. Maybe I need to stop using language like I think or maybe or kind of, because that I think opens up or invites in, like, negative thoughts, negative actions, maybe invites in people to criticize you or cut you down if you're trying to get your finances in order or your life in order, I mean, or at least it gives the folks who are waiting in the wings to always critique or criticize or cut people down for trying to better themselves. It gives them um, what they perceive as the opportunity to do so. Like as with so many other situations in life. It's side note, it kind of sucks, but you have to sort of be like steely minded or steely eyed or steely in your personality to try and break through this. It's kind of like why getting out of debt, getting your finances in order does require that gazelle like intensity, to borrow the expression from I think Dave Ramsey, where you gotta like act like you're being chased by this lion. You have to just like go, 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 go. You can't like be, skipping along. You can't be, walking along. You can't be chill about things. Like you have to be like, I gotta get this taken care of. I gotta get out of debt, or else, I'm gonna get caught. I'm gonna get stuck. That sort of thing, or the rice and beans and rice diet. That sort of deal. That kind of mentality behind that. That being said, um, once the credit cards are taken care of, and I've been having to make, I've had to make targeted payments onto them because, um, like I talked about earlier with the whole interest charges. Like if you don't make those sizable payments, your whatever you're throwing at it is going to get eaten up by the interest charges. You're just not going to get anywhere. You're just going to be spinning your wheels in place, and yeah, it's just like not going to be. It's not going to be good. It ain't going to end well, so to speak, because you'll be back right where you started. Um, Started doing that on the credit card that has like the lowest, limit, lowest balance, and I've been doing overtime. I started doing overtime at this new job. I did 60 hours this week. Plan on doing 60 hours next week so I can get that, big paycheck. I'd like to do that at least for like 2 pay periods so I can just get that first credit card knocked out. Start, clearing out space on the other cards because, the way I've done it is I'll have like the card that I'm using for, daily purchases. As long as I have enough space on there, that'll get me through the current, pay period until I get that next check. And then I have my card that I put targeted payments on, kind of cycle through those until I get to, the one with the biggest credit line, biggest, balance, and I'm able to pay that off. It's the whole like debt snowball method, in miniature. So that right now is my focus financially, getting through that. I will have some other payments to make. Like I'm on a payment plan for my, last semester of my DIY GPA repair post back, thingamabobber that I've been doing. So I gotta like make the payment for that. Obviously, there's minimum payments on things like the other credit cards. Which is again why I need to do so much overtime to have that money, at least for right now. The student loan thing, that's kind of on pause right now in terms of like my ability to make payments because, again, like, I could be setting out minimum payments and that sort of thing, but like, that's just going to be me treading water. And I really don't want to do that. I think it's probably one of my biggest financial fears, and it's extended to a lot of other aspects of life, but just like treading water, just getting by in the same rut that you were in, 10 years ago, because you just tread water, you just did the minimum. It could be like financially, which is, what we're talking about here. It could be other areas of life where it's just getting by until you're not getting by because something really bad happened because you weren't really prepared because you thought you could just get by. And Yeah, I think once I get the two credit cards that I have, well, I think I have three, but the two smaller balance ones, once I get those paid off, I'll feel like I have enough breathing space to go and maybe split my check between the last credit card and the student loan account. Um, and as with a lot of things, like, hey, I thought I was going to be done with all that by now, but like, life happened. Um, you know, got laid off. My mom got diagnosed with, stage 4 pancreatic cancer. She passed away. Um, I kind of, maybe partially to cope with all of that, but partially because I just gotten so fed up with the state of like the industry and my job and career and people getting ahead of me for, what I think of as no good reason. I just kind of buried myself in school with the idea that I got to get into grad school, got to get that master's. That's what really what's going to make the difference. And, I had worked myself up financially enough that I felt that I could take that risk. I could, bite that bullet and, for, another year and a half, get myself through all these courses with a good enough GPA, good enough marks that I feel like I had a fighting chance at graduate school, which I'm in the process of applying to. But, again, like until I actually get the acceptance, like, I might have said, like 85, 90, 95%, chance of getting in the past, but, it's even more so now where it's like, until I get that actual acceptance letter, I'm not saying, oh, I'm done with that. But that's like another educational move, which is a financial move. It's another financial move, which is, mask as an educational move, because, the whole getting into graduate school, being able to get graduate level internships, line up a job, it's an actual engineering position. That's where the real big bucks are at, and that would be really life changing to be able to, add on however many more percentage points, to my income, or even double it. And I could really make some, headway on a whole slew of other things financially, more than just, getting out of debt, staying out of debt. It would make it a lot easier to get out of debt and stay out of debt. It might also make me, or, contribute to me, like lowering my guard and thinking that, oh, I make enough, I can be irresponsible. But, obviously I got to make that effort to not get into that sort of mindset. But anyways, to circle back, right now I'm focusing on resetting the clock on my credit card debt. And then once that's the case and I'm holding that line, I'm going to pivot to focusing the majority of my financial resources on paying off that last student loan account. If in the meantime I end up with some other, debts, like potentially a mortgage on my grandparents' house, then obviously I'll have to sort of, regroup, and take in the information and make, some new, calculations or, decisions to going forward from that. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Unfortunately, it's a case of getting back on the saddle and struggling to get back on the saddle, because getting the credit card debts paid off would honestly like be about giving me enough breathing space where those are like the immediate things affecting me financially, and otherwise, that's just what I gotta do right now. So anyways, gone on for long enough. It's coming up on 20 minutes, so I'm gonna stop recording here and then upload this and see you folks around. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.